Everybody, can you all hear me? Great. Well, thank you very much. This is Rekha Pandey, and here speaking in this forum. I want to thank Light and Red Rope Foundation in collaboration with AP Natura Foundation and Hyderabad University. I want to thank you for organizing this symposium. It's been a very learning experience for me so far. Really education. I've learned a lot of things over the last 2 weeks, just listening to all of you, people who are very experienced in the social sector, people who have worked in this segment for a long time. So I grew up in a very small country town in Kerala, and I was completely unaware of this whole issue of human trafficking, especially the magnitude in which this happened until I saw with my own eyes a child being exploited on the streets in Mumbai when I came there for some work. This was in 1996. And so most of my education, most of what I have learned in this whole field has been a result of my work and my experience. And my biggest teachers have been victims of human trafficking, children who have been exploited, people living in slum communities, and the people who I have been working with and who I am working with right now. So they have been my biggest teachers and educators, because I do not have a degree in social work and I have not worked in any government department of social work. So I have all my experience from the field. So whatever I'm going to speak from now on has been from my learning over the last 15 years of working on the field from the grassroots. So the topic that has been given to me to speak about is about the factors that contributes to human trafficking from the slums, from urban slums, among urban slums. So we started Vision Rescue in 2004. So I've been working with children in the slums for the last 16 years, and I'm based in Mumbai, and our scope of activities are spread out to Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata, 3 major cities of India. So majority of the people that we find in the slums, in urban slums, they have migrated from villages. So why migration? Obvious result is poverty. And there is a very clear connection to poverty and lack of education. And another reason for migration is caste-based issues that happens in villages. I'll come to it at the end. Another major issue of migration is loss of property to money lenders because of lack of awareness of their rights, lack of awareness of schemes available for these people who are poor, because they are not educated, they are not aware of their entitlements. So what happens? They end up borrowing money from lending sharks, and they end up losing their property. Another reason could be natural calamities, climate change, and the list goes on. So people migrate due to various reasons, and they come to urban slums, come to the major cities of India with the expectation of a new life or a better life. And when they come to the cities, the middle class and the rich in the cities have a love-hate relationship with slum dwellers, because the existence of slums are a necessity for the ecosystem or for the survival of people, for the middle class and the rich people in the cities, because that is where you get your cheap labor from, that is where you get all your domestic help from, that is why your domestic labor, your drivers, and all your other services that you get are available in such a small price. So for that reason, the middle class and the rich people, would, in one way, love the existence of slums. At the same time, they hate the existence of slums because of obviously the crime and the dirt and all the other problems that it causes. And so the result is The result is there is no obvious solution. So it does have an effect on your on your face, especially when movies like Slumdog Millionaire comes out. It really affects the image of the rich and the wealthy among their global peers. And then we try to build walls to cover the slums when a dignitary or an official comes from another country. Those are not the solutions. So narrowing into the slums in the cities, there are two kinds of slums: legal slums and illegal slums. Even take the case of Mumbai. There are so many slums existent in Mumbai which are legal. People have IDs. There are schools, there are hospitals, there are even most parts of Dharavi. But the major problem are the illegal slums. In the illegal slums, the government will not have schools, because the moment you put a school, it is equivalent to saying that we are legalizing the slums. In illegal slums, it is existent, but everybody wants to pretend that it does not exist. But the biggest challenge in such slums, which keep existing for years, and the dwellers of those slums, their biggest hope is that one day they will be legalized. The biggest victims of children are children. Because whether we like it or not, children are born, children grow up, and the reality is that these children grow up without education. Now, if these children need to go to a school, they need to go outside of their slum, maybe travel 1, 2, or 3 kilometers outside of their slum to go to school. And it does not happen, especially for little children. So the crucial age, in my experience, the crucial age of engaging these children in education is the ages of 3 to 6, because until the age of 6, a child is learning to read. But from the age of 6, a child is reading to learn. So if a child does not learn to read at least by the age of 6 or maximum 7, there is a very high probability that this child will never complete his or her education, because when they start schooling at the age of 6 or 7, they are placed in a class based on their age, and they're sitting with other kids who have been going to school from the age of 3, and they are not able to cope, even though they're intelligent, since they do not have the foundation of being able to read. They are not able to cope, and they drop out. And these kids are the most susceptible, most vulnerable for exploitation and trafficking. Now, these children are actually victims. Why have they become victims? They have become victims because of a poor life choice made by somebody up the generation, their parents or grandparents, or somebody up there who had to make the decision to migrate to these urban slums. So they made a poor life choice. Why make a poor life choice? Because for somebody to be able to make a choice, they need to be aware of options. Okay, they made a poor life choice because they were not aware of options. Options were there, but they were not aware of it. Why were they not aware of options? Because they did not have access to information, because they were not educated. How do we reverse the cycle? The only way we can reverse the cycle is by bringing education to these children. And in my experience, over the last 16 years, the critical age in which we should engage and sustain children in education is the age group between 3 to 6. Because if we do not get them at that age, there is a high probability they will not get educated, or even if they start off, they will not continue. So in the case of illegal slums, the government does not or will not put schools in such slums. That is why I really believe it's very, very important that non-government organizations adopt to unconventional method of education. We cannot go with the conventional method of education. What unconventional methods of education, and get into these slum communities and start education program where we really teach these children how to read and prepare them with the foundations of education, so that when they are 6 or 7, they can engage in a school, maybe outside their slum communities, and start education. So the focus should not be right now to get the people out of the slums. The focus should be to get the slum out of the people. How do you get the slum out of the people? You get the slum out of the people by bringing education to them. How do you get the darkness out? You get the darkness out by bringing light. So my proposal today is, my time is running out. My proposal today is that there needs to be a collaborative effort. Now, when I come to education of children in slum communities, this is not something that can be done alone, done by the government alone or by NGOs alone, because these activities have to be done within a certain limit of time. If you're looking at a slum of say 3,000 children who are non-school going, if you do not engage with every one of these children within a 1 year period, engage with them, find out the reason why they are not in school, and bring in, unleash activities to these slums that would remove the barriers that prevent them from going to school, and then engage them in education, provide the basics. If we do not do everything within a certain span of time, a lot of children will just cross over. A lot of children are constantly crossing over that age gap of 6 or 7, where it is very difficult for them to go back to education. So how do we attain the speed? The only way we can attain the speed is by involving a mass movement of volunteers. So take the case of Mumbai. Mumbai alone, there are about 8 million slum dwellers. And also there are 8 million skilled professionals in Mumbai and close to 1 million college students. So on one hand, there is a need abundance. And on the other side, there's a skill abundance. But there is actually no proper match between the need abundance and the skill abundance. So my proposal today is to curb this problem, to bring, to have a thrust of preventative activities. We need to have a mass engagement of volunteers from high schools, from colleges, NSS of colleges, people working in the corporate part of their CSR, come and engage with NGOs and unleash a range of activities which will contribute towards the engagement and sustaining of education of children in slum communities. So as a result of this thinking pattern, we have launched a volunteer mobilization platform called The Movement. The Movement, you can go to our website, themovementindia.com, or find us on our social media platform. We exist to connect the skill abundance and the need abundance. And I really believe, it is my conviction, that if we make it a citizen program, if every citizen of India take ownership of solving this problem, we can solve this problem. So once again, I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. And I really pray and hope that after today's conversations, we will come to some conclusions and come to some decisions where we can all work together to solve this huge problem that our nation and our generation is facing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Biju Thampi, for